which is where the state attorney general says, under penalty of perjury and fines and potential jail time, you have to tell us the answer to these questions. And they were all about alleged sales of magazines. Rather than completing that, Wally brought Silent Majority Foundation in. We good?
Sounds like we got an echo from somebody who says we got an echo.
Well, I mean, is that
either what it is? I think it's there.
You had the other sound on?
Should have checked that a long time ago.
Whoops.
Apologies for the echo.
Yeah, sorry about that. So Wally, rather than answering the civil investigative demand, brought us along to challenge under the Second Amendment and the state, corollary Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington Constitution. We did that, fast forward, and successfully won at the trial court level in Cowlitz County. Got Judge Basher's opinion, which said under both constitutions, large capacity magazines are arms and thus protected under the Constitution, and that the law violated the constitutions. Not surprisingly, it goes to the state Supreme Court. Eventually, we get a 7-2 decision that says, no, Judge Basher, you're wrong. These are not arms, and they are not protected. Last week, Wednesday, August 6th, we filed and brought along co-counsel the folks that argued Bruin from Clement Murphy and several other firearms cases and several other U.S. Supreme Court cases they've argued successfully. These folks are jumping on ship with Wally and Gators Guns and Silent Majority Foundation. So we're now co-counseling with them, and they're doing it, as free of charge to Wally. I mean, they got to deal with their client, but they're doing it to make sure that we are able to work with them to protect Wally's rights and your rights under the Second Amendment and under the Washington Constitution. So that, I believe, that writ, we call it a writ of certiorari, a petition for review. I believe that's on our website, right, Rob?
Yes.
The writ's up. Okay, the writ's up. Take a look at it. I mean, it's extremely well written. We had done a lot of the legwork. I call it, we got it in the red zone, or quite frankly, probably even down to 10 yards or less. And they came in and helped us really tighten it up. It was admittedly, personally, it's hard to look at that and see the one thing that's glaringly missing is my name on that. But the right thing to do was make sure that there was no conflict with my new gig. And so we have Austin, and then we have the Clement Murphy team, or at least 3 of their attorneys. And so, look, folks, this case, if you would have asked me, 2 years ago, me not being involved in it, like, would I be, I would be absolutely certain that Austin could handle it. But, if they're like, yeah, you're not going to be involved in 2 years, and didn't give me the full picture as to why or who else is going to join us, I would have my concerns. But, Austin's there. He's got that lead. And then the Clement Murphy folks along with him. We are very blessed. I saying that the case is in capable hands, I would not comfortably leave my job if I didn't think that was the case. And I am fully confident that this is the best product. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court wants to hear it, that's their decision. There have been some phenomenal cases before them on firearms that they've not been inclined to hear. But I do believe, because this comes from a state, because we really teed up the split in the circuits and the district courts, and how different states have passed this and others haven't touched it, and how just the flat out decision that these are not arms at all. I think all those elements hopefully are what gets SCOTUS's eyes. So that over the next couple months, the state's going to brief their response, and then we'll have a couple weeks to do a reply. So I would expect, unless the state doesn't seek an extension, which would shock me, they've got 30 days as of August 6th to reply. So I think that's like 9/5. Almost always extensions they're routinely granted as long as they're sought. So I would expect them to get have 60 days. So September, October. It's possible that we have this thing briefed up by Halloween. And if that's the case, then everyone that's followed us knows how things went with both Snope and Rhode Island Tactical, which is it goes back to conference, and the judges can take it and under advisement through the conference process and kick it, or they can make a decision on it very quickly. And we do know that Justice Kavanaugh, I believe, in Snope said that he anticipates that at least the AR ban, the firearms, not so much the magazines, that he expects to hear that the next couple terms, which would be by the end of the next year. And so, God willing, he meant firearms related cases.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because we've got Guardian Arms, which is an AR ban case. What's the possibility that that case can kind of kick the afterburners on, following up on Gators and get in front of SCOTUS before somebody else does? Or are there other cases that are queued up in front of it?
I think the AR ban's going to come through somewhere else. I mean, we still have what's called motion for summary judgment. So, fortunately, we spent a lot of resources both on Gators and on Guardian Arms. And fortunately, the NRA has partnered with us to help reimburse the professional costs. And by that, I mean, we've put probably $100K or more into experts on both cases. Brumback also, which was another magazine ban case brought in federal court from, again, our friend Scott Brumback, an attorney in Yakima. But when Gators really took its legs, we kind of cut that one out and let it sit, because we knew Gators would go into the state Supreme Court quickly. Once we saw that writing on the wall, we thought that was the wisest place to take it, because that would be the easiest way to get it to the U.S. Supreme Court quickly. And here we are, less than a year later. Guardian Arms is the so-called assault weapons ban case. That one we did plead exclusively on state issues. We do bring some corollary arguments under the Second Amendment. So it may be tough to get that one to SCOTUS. But because we have our discovery completed or near complete, we're going to hopefully move for motions for summary judgment, which I've called those tap out motions for folks to follow. Basically, if you win one of those, you win your case. And under other types of law or other types of cases, you may still have issues that remain, like how much are the damages? You have a jury trial on damages. In this case, we didn't plead any monetary damages. It was straight up, is it constitutional and does it violate rights? So under a motion for summary judgment, theoretically, we could win that. And we win that, and now the so-called assault weapons ban is overturned. Mm-hmm. And now we're back in, I mean, how great would it be to be the organization that wins the magazines and the assault weapons? Because now FFLs pretty much are back in full-fledged force, selling whatever, to the extent that FFLs are still here.
Right.
So, those who have suffered the pain of the past 3 to 4 years of terrible legislation, they could easily overcome that. I mean, not easily, but they could really see a huge shot in the arm, again, from Gators and Guardian Arms, because now they're selling all these so-called assault rifles and the parts.
Right.
If you're making a custom, there's certain parts that were banned, including the magazines. So, I mean, we could see FFLs having a real hot 2026 if we can keep things on track. And I know that's a long time to be holding on, especially since it's been several years to get there. But yeah, Guardian Arms is really critical because, as we understand, that's, again, types of firearms and types of components of firearms that are super integral that really are bread and butter to FFLs. So that should be coming on docket this fall as far as our motion for summary judgment is. I'm hopeful that'll get filed then.
So I'm going to take you from present into future a little bit on those. I mean, we've talked about a little bit 2026, but we know that the permit to purchase passed again this year. How do these cases, what kind of legal bearing do they have in those cases, or at least where do they put us in the standing to be able to bring a case against that new legislation?
I mean, it's a totally separate issue, but obviously the more wins we get, the better it will be for the judiciary seeing, how messed up things are. So, I mean, is to the permit to purchase, part of the reason we haven't pushed that one hard is there was such a lag in the implementation.
That's 2027.
Yeah. And so, our purpose, as a small organization is one, to keep the lights on. And we've struggled month to month to do that. Our donors have fatigued, and I understand it. We've fatigued, but we're still fighting. We may be a little bit more bloody and a little bit more tired and a little bit more mud worn. But these are the things that we have to keep doing, and our donors have to keep funding these cases. We can't just rely on the NRA to come in and save us. I mean, they've done a heck of a job making sure that we've got cushion, that we're able to afford these experts, the tune of about 100K or more. But that's really a reimbursement. That's not a, hey, keep the foundation running. I mean, we were concerned about a near $8,000 bill to print gators. That stuff is real. That's attorney's hours. When we have to put hard costs in, it's a huge spend against a little budget. Right. And so for anyone that's hung on for whatever, an hour or 45 minutes that we've been on here, like we need you. You've got to be all in. And when I say you've got to be all in, it's not just your donations, it's not just your prayers, it's your word of mouth. Like you going to your friends and neighbors that you're able to have these open conversations with and saying, these guys need to be funded. They're taking a case to the Supreme Court. They've taken several to the state Supreme Court, and they are battling constantly against the state of Washington with your tax dollars, against your tax dollars, to defend your rights, which are infringed by your tax dollars in Olympia. It is such a cluster, and it sucks, to your point, like you said it, and we say it all the time. It's so stupid to have this job, but it's a job that has to be done because we have such a broken legislature. And they're going to spend. I mean, this $14 billion whatever crisis for the budget. I mean, I know I'm way off topic here, but like all these invented emergencies and emergency spending.
It's all related. There's a problem. The process is broken. And that's where we get these terrible laws, legislation, rules, organizations that don't have anything better to do but to enforce a governor's made-up mandate. That's all related, and that's really what we stand for and what we're doing. And to your outreach to our supporters and donors, I encourage each and every one of you to own it, own that you're a Silent Majority Foundation member or supporter, or whatever you want to be. You are part of the silent majority. I want you to make that part of your identity, and because it's part of your identity, you can wear it on your sleeve and tell people about it. Look, I don't agree with the way things are going in the state, and I'm standing up and doing something about it. This is what you could do. Be part of our organization. Be part of the fight. Be part of what it is that we're trying to accomplish in making our state a better place to live and have more freedom, and bring our kids up, and they're not part of a crazy system that's going to give them these ideologies that are counter culture or counter to good Christian values and beliefs, and that are constantly attacking the family. That's how I want you to think about this, is you are part of what it is we're accomplishing. We talk about the fight that we have and that we do in the lawsuits that we filed. It's the royal we in this situation. This organization doesn't exist without you, without people that want this to happen and support us in doing what we're doing. And the day that the people don't support what we're doing, there's no more Silent Majority Foundation. We're done. That means that we have either A, we've succeeded in what we tried to accomplish, or B, it's time to be done, and it's time to pack it up. And I don't know, moving out of state's not an option for me, but maybe that's what we have to do in order to retain the values for our families, for our kids, so they can live somewhere where they can see the values that we hold dear, and that they can live the American dream and not be taxed out of the American dream or be enslaved by the American dream.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And that's why, people, I hear this, stop asking. It's like, fine, stop asking us to fight for your rights. if we can't make this organization, a perpetual organization through funding, we could ask the government for money. That might come with some changes of mission. I will tell you this, I'll be gone, but I know you well enough to know that you have no interest in being an organization that's just going to be a pass-through for government BS. I mean, that's our other option, is we either stay funded by the people and do God and the people's work, or we change it. And we have consistently been unwilling to bend to that knee of the government and, hey, here's your carrot. I mean, we haven't even tried to seek applications for grants or anything like that because we knew that they came with strings attached. So, I mean, I know we're talking about the future, and I know we've gone off on this tangent about the need of hopefully firing people up to stay focused and fight. We've got our firearms cases. We have 2 cases against Peace Health. Are we getting comments? Is my mic better?
Oh yeah, we're all
Okay.
good. The echo was the camera over there had an extra mic on it. Unfortunately, hopefully the recording will be good so we can repost it.
Okay. We have our 2 Peace Health cases. We have the religious element and then the medical exemptions from COVID-19. The medical one only has 3 plaintiffs. That's our Kittleson versus Peace Health case. As of right now, and it's probably going to change probably Monday or Tuesday, that thing's teed up for trial in January. Obviously, with my departure, we're probably going to push that back. My suspicion is, if possible, sometime in March or April, which runs right into our Renata Moon case, which is teed up for trial, I think, June 6th, and it's like an 8-day trial, so it's those 2 weeks, June 6th to whatever the next week is. And then the Zimmerman case, which is our 53 Peace Health religious freedom or religious exemption case, that one is not teed up for a trial yet in 2026. It likely will, unless, God willing, we win all of the elements that we've brought on summary judgment. Again, that's a tap out motion for anyone that's kind of just joining us, which if decided in our favor, the summary judgment's granted and those issues are totally dissolved. And now it's a question of damages. It's a question of maybe one of the issues arises about discrimination. And maybe it's, anyway, I could get into the weeds about what type of damages we're seeking. But the point is, if we're successful on this motion for summary judgment, and we do have oral arguments on that case in Tacoma on the 18th of August, I think 1:30. Unfortunately, they're not going to be streamed. Certainly, if anyone's showing up, you're showing up at the federal courthouse in Tacoma on the 18th of August at 1:30. I don't anticipate many folks there. I know a lot of our clients are trying to piece their lives together. Some are back at work, not so much for Peace Health, but some other place. And obviously, it's the summer, so I don't anticipate a large following there. But those oral arguments are going to address our motion for summary judgment. Peace Health filed a motion for summary judgment concurrently. And then Peace Health also sought to disqualify Dr. Harvey Risch, our expert, claiming that he wasn't qualified to opine in the way he did. Obviously, we disagree with all that. And so I'm hopeful. I don't know that the judge will rule from the bench. In other words, I don't know that I don't anticipate that she'll rule on August 18th. I do, however, anticipate that she'll give us, it's possible that she could rule on the Risch issue, the expert disqualification. As to this motion for summary judgment, well, she's had 90 days to review them. To me, the indication is I would, and again, this not my courtroom. I'm not her, so I'm not going to say this is what this is what I think she's doing. My suspicion is she's probably written most of the opinion, may have very specific questions either on case law, or maybe she's looked at other case law, or maybe we filed several motions for supplemental authority in other cases that are on COVID matters that have come out since we filed our motions. She may have questions about some of that stuff. I would say if her questions are very baseline, like, are you sure you got this case right, or are you sure you got this issue right, addressed to us. I think that's very favorable. But anyway, that's where we are. We're just over a week out from oral arguments, and hopefully very soon thereafter we'll have a decision on that motion for summary judgment. That would allow us to determine whether or not we're going to have a trial. That would help us determine how many, if any, of our clients would like to settle, and what those settlement talks look like. And so it really refines the issues before a jury. Again, if we can get to the point where the case is live and she's ruled in our favor in summary judgment, now the jury or the trial is simply what's the dollar value. If she says she could deny both summary judgments, and that would mean that the entirety of the case is alive, and we'd have a 53-person trial on each individual's issue, even though it's technically, so we didn't file it as a class action, so individual issues are going to kind of permeate throughout the case. So that would be, a multi-month trial, which I don't know. We'll deal with that as it comes. But obviously, I'm a firm believer, whether we win or don't lose on summary judgment, that either would kind of propagate the outcome of having settlement talks. So we could start seeing settlement this fall. We could certainly be in an appellate posture if this Peace Health summary judgment's granted. And we could also be in a prep for settlement talks and a trial on damages. So, I'm very hopeful that those cases will continually, I know they will move forward. I know Karen and Emily have put a lot of time and are putting a lot of time into both. I'm very hopeful it'll move forward in a positive manner, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, those people have been waiting and hoping and praying for so long, and we've been right there along with them. And like I said, we talked about the COVID era. This goes all the way back to COVID era. It's still in 2025, getting to the end of 2025, and when we're litigating these issues because it takes so long. to get to the bottom of all this. We've got some other stuff we haven't talked about. We got the Center School District representing them. We've got the WSRP representing them in some election. We talked a little bit earlier. I don't know if the echo took it all out, but talked about election integrity and ballot measure titles and that kind of stuff, and how important that is. I didn't get to mention how, we saw the direct effect of confusing ballot titles in this last presidential election in 2024, where we had 4 measures on the ballot. And it was very clear that the message was to vote yes on those if you had signed the petition and you agreed with them. But even people that I knew that had signed the petition were confused whether yes or no was the right way to vote on that, simply because the Attorney General's office was able to write those ballot titles in such a confusing way that people weren't sure what exactly they were voting for.
Well, and that's why we jumped into those ballot title cases. Understanding how to tee them up in a way that the people could understand them. We knew that was a critical piece of really putting that puzzle together and making sure that that everyone knew what they were voting for or against, and making sure that, in part, the clearer the language, if there was some sort of challenge, the easier it would be to have resolution on the case, not just, hey, it was a wonky written and no one still understands it. Your Honor, you're going to have to rewrite this. Like, no judge wants to do that. You have a ballot proponent and then you have the AG's interpretation thereof. Why does a third branch need to get involved? And that's why I know those judges kind of are loath to really jump in and dive too deep. And so, one of the other things that we didn't talk about was we did have that litigation hold letter from the 2020 elections that we sent out to 25 counties, and a couple said pound sand, and a couple actually said, hey, we're revising our procedures to make sure that these ballots are actually counted properly and stored properly, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was talking with a gentleman who mentioned that they use that as a package that they had requested as an organization some intervention from a Department of Justice. Whether or not it'll come, I don't know. But that was part of the package of voter fraud and election integrity issues that they're seeking a request for help. That in addition to some folks it might shock you, King County, that either got too many ballots. There was a lady that got, I think, 16 ballots. That may have been in Snohomish or Pierce. But anyway, there were people who had ballots without addresses. I mean, there's just a whole litany of election issues. I mean, when you're mailing them out to anyone, everyone, not surprisingly, there were problems. And so I was happy. I mean, I had honestly forgotten about those litigation hold letters and the success we had. Again, in particular, Franklin County responded and said, hey, thanks for pointing some of these things out. We're going to implement some things. So, I mean, the reality is we've been in election integrity since just after the 20 election. I know that we've got the Parents' Bill of Rights case that's on appeal, and that was from the original Parents' Bill of Rights initiative. And we're fortunate that we were granted intervention on behalf of Let's Go Washington, on behalf of Jim Walsh, on behalf of One Washington, and on behalf of Informed Choice of Washington, all groups who were seeking to preserve the integrity of our elections, and Jim being an individual, of course. And so, we are still in that battle, and that's, an election issue plus a parents' rights issue. And so, we were fortunate that we were alongside the state and had success in trying to maintain that, the integrity of that original initiative. And I kind of thought when House Bill 1296 passed, which kind of gutted it largely, and when I say gutted it largely, I do mean that it gutted some significant portions, but not all of it. And so there are several issues that remain live and are critical, even notwithstanding the passage of 1296 legislation last year. That case is, we got to file an appellate brief later in August, the end of August. An extension was granted, and so the state had sought that, and the extension was granted. We still have the Hazelo case, which is now on appeal, his civil case, as to whether or not an auditor can actually implement arbitrary rules without any notice, without really the authority to do so. And so that case is on appeal, and obviously that's a critical one. We filed our opening brief, and the state, in this case, county prosecutor, has until early September to file the response. So we've got a lot of critical things moving forward. We certainly have I see Tracy's comment, and the Hazelo case is Tracy's case, so for folks that aren't paying attention there, Tim and Tracy, it's ridiculous that we're, again, we use that word, it's ridiculous we're in this fight with you all. One, we appreciate you, and two, it's a sad day when we have to sue a county auditor who's stepping out of her authority. It's an even Saturday when we have to appeal it, but we have appealed it. And again, we want to make sure that they're, obviously Tim's criminal stuff's moved forward. Tracy's hasn't, as far as I understand, or it's slower moving, which is why we expedited our appellate brief. Because if we can get this civil stuff wrapped up and get this arbitrary rule without authority declared such, then the criminal charges just go away. And so for us, it's been important to keep pressing on that. So that's again, the state, the county responds on the 5th of September. So, in August, you're looking at some pretty critical briefing. And you're going to see Parents' Bill of Rights. You're going to see shortly thereafter, a week thereafter, the Hazelo appeal response. You're going to see stuff moving on the Washington State Republican Party on the Omniballot challenge that's against King County proceeding in Snohomish County. You may see some stuff in Guardian Arms. I'm not going to, tease that up too much. I know that's one that we want to get back moving. You're going to see the work that we're doing with Los Center School District on their pronoun issues. That's going to keep moving. obviously, we did what we did in Gators already in August, and filing to the U.S. Supreme Court. I guess that's maybe a big issue for folks. It's where we always wanted to be. It's where we always need to be. And yeah, I mean, that's just looking at August and early September. That's like literally the next month, not even, of the work that we've got going on, plus the hearing in Zimmerman, the religious element of the Peace Health case, plus all the depositions and litigation in the Kittleson case. I mean, things are just as busy as they were last week. Now, obviously, SMF is down me, which is, obviously I did actually do work. I didn't just do podcasts. I promise you that.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit to kind of wrap things up. I mean, I'm getting a message that the echo took out probably the first half of what we talked about, so we might have to rehash that a little bit or come back to it at a different time. But with you taking the U.S. Attorney position, SMF will continue as you've outlined the work that we are in the middle of, and will continue going forward. We have our legal team still in place. We've got the board of directors still in place. And we are pushing forward, obviously, because this work has to be done. We've talked about that ad nauseum a little bit, but because this work has to be done, we'll continue to work and do what we can from our side, from the perspective of citizens, concerned citizens of Washington State and or the United States when we have national issues that we're taking on as well. So we'll push this way, but you're going to be in a totally different position now. And we've talked about this personally between you and I about you potentially taking a role that would be able to make a change or cause effect outside of our private organization that we have here, and outside of being a private citizen. You going and taking a position with the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to really be able to affect change on a much grander scale from a different perspective, fighting a different fight, but at essentially the same fight. Because what we're trying to do at the foundation is make Washington livable and better for our children and preserve our future. And what you're going to be doing at the U.S. Attorney's Office is very similar.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was fortunate that Friday afternoon, I was able to meet with the very capable, very skilled, and very committed folks of that office. And
let's take a second real quick. For those of you who may not have seen all of the press releases from the past week, go ahead and make the initial, I guess I would say the official announcement. We're going to officially announce tomorrow, but I think an official announcement from Pete would be great.
I mean, at this point, I've made enough official announcements. So yeah. Effective tomorrow at 10 a.m., I will be sworn in as the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Washington, which means the eastern 20 counties, basically Kittitas East all the way down to the border. I think, what is it that shares the border? I mean, Franklin or Benton County does, and maybe Klickitat County. Anyway, those counties up into Okanagan, all those sorts of things. Those are the 20 counties that I will supervise, United States attorneys, Department of Justice, bringing cases, both civil and criminal, either to defend or protect the United States interests. Obviously, the most important work in that office, rather than, as we've been focused on the civil rights and the Constitution, to me, the most important work in that office is getting the worst of the worst out of our streets. And I've seen things happening from some serious criminal charges recently. There was one of the things that made me super excited was there was a press release about 6 foreign nationals who were caught in fentanyl trafficking. And we not only took those drugs off the street, but those folks are no longer the United States of America. And so we are looking at an opportunity to say, hey, this is where we're going to throw down. You commit a crime, you're not here legally, you're going to actually get deported. And so, I mean, man, there's so much to do. And to your point, like, there's the opportunity to just make the headlines with a couple of cases and really put the fear of the rule of law into people. And if that doesn't work, then we're really going to go hardcore. And again, I mean, I still haven't been briefed on what the caseload looks like and where we are. What I do know is I was briefed on the fact that we need more staff. And one of my jobs through this appointment will be to really work hand in hand with DC and with other agencies and figure out where resources can come from. Because I want that office to be as fully staffed as possible so that the people of Eastern Washington are getting the value they're investing through their tax dollars, and making sure that our streets are safer and making sure that our rights are protected. And I will tell you, having watched the Department of Justice over the first couple hundred days of the Trump administration, obviously Harmeet Dillon is taking a very keen look at various civil rights issues. That's her job. She is the lead of the civil rights division of Department of Justice. I really look forward to getting to know her, to pointing out issues that we, at least as a Washingtonian, I feel like Washington not only has these issues, but they've been overlooked. Making sure amicus briefs are written on behalf of the right types of issues. So my goal is to continue the work that's happening, where we're pulling bad people out of society to remove them from Washington. And even if we aren't the catalyst for all the civil rights stuff, at least having those relationships to say, you need to look into this. Here's evidence. Here's evidence, and it's coming from one of your peers now, someone who's running this office. And whether or not, if you, Harmeet, or whoever want to take the case, go for it. If you want to lend me a body so that, I'm not pulling on my team more than I already am, let's go. Let's get this figured out. And the cool thing is there's so many initiatives through the Trump administration that I think will better the people of Washington. And there's going to be some fun cases defending the Adams County case with, whether or not Keep Washington Working Act violates the United States immigration laws. I mean, there's fun stuff that we've teased out and I've talked about either on the campaign trail or here. It's going to be really exciting to be part of that and to just be that voice for for Washington.
Right. I think there's a big question about. So you're here in the Eastern District. There's an appointment that needs to be made in the Western District. Do those two offices, are they able to work hand in hand and do things, or how does that work? Is it something you know?
So I'm going to start with I don't know, and then I'll fill in what I can. What I can tell you is, obviously where there's cross district stuff, work gets done, and that's true. My understanding is that's true whether it's border states, like obviously we share a border with Oregon and Idaho, or whether it's intrastate districts. And so obviously number one is, who is that person? What relationship do I already have coming into it, or what relationship do I need to build coming into it? So I anticipate that we will be working very closely together, because I don't know that there's really anything. There are certain things like, okay, suing King County on omniballot. That's tough for Eastern Washington to say we're affected. Now, does it affect it when statewide offices are slighted? Yeah. But I think it's not as clear the nexus isn't as clear as, let's say, some sort of Keep Washington Working Act. Does that violate United States immigration laws? And then you have a lawsuit in Adams County. Clearly that makes sense to work cross district. So I anticipate working cross district again. I'm hopeful that, whoever the individual that's appointed and then eventually, like me, confirmed, is going to be interested in working together. And so I'm paying very, very, very close attention to that, because I want to make sure that as soon as that individual is appointed, we're off and running together, and then, obviously doing our separate things, cleaning up our crime in-house, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's a real opportunity for momentum gain.
That's awesome. Now, once again, I'm probably asking questions that you're not quite briefed on or not sure about, but I imagine you'll be able to work with some of these organizations that are nonprofit as well, like Tim Tebow's organization that fights, sex trafficking as well as Operation Underground Railroad, that kind of thing. Do you see, opportunity to do more of that here in Washington and really fight back on the human trafficking aspect as well as the drug trafficking?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I pointed, shine the light on the success that was recent about those fentanyl and deportations that were concurrent with fentanyl. One, we pulled drugs off the street, and two, we pulled drug dealers off the street. And I apologize for using we because I'm not quite in that office, but the good people of that office did that. And I mean, I do think that there's an opportunity. I've got to figure out if there's red tape on that or if I can deconstruct the red tape if it's there. But my take is, as long as I'm not prohibited from accepting assistance from the outside, I want it. I mean, the reality is I'm one person. I cannot be the eyes and ears. Now, I probably should caveat that with I've already been blown up with, messages of very, very particular individualized circumstances and situations that don't fit the mold of the office. I cannot A, respond to everything, and B, I cannot do everything. And there are things that, I'd love to fix individualized issues that have global effect, but we can't do everything. And that's been true for the foundation. That'll be true for that organization. So I don't want people to have an expectation that say, hey, I DM'd you on Facebook and like, where are you on my case? Like, that's just not how this is going to work. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to get there early in the morning and I've been told I have briefings all day. That's tomorrow. And then I still have to, not surprisingly with the government, have to go through all my, red tape to get my computer and my cell phone. Like that's where we're starting with this. So, I asked for a little bit of grace and patience, and I know that's hard to give. It's not that I'm shelving the work, but I got to come up to speed somehow so I don't make a, half-cocked decision that impacts somebody's rights.
Right.
Oh, let's just put this guy away for life. And like, oh, wait, he jaywalked.
Right. And so this is initially a 120-day appointment.
Yep.
And then with the intention of getting confirmed via the U.S. Senate.
Yep.
So anytime between the next 120 days, you could be expected to be sitting in front of a panel in Washington, D.C.
Yep. You'll see me on C-SPAN. I mean, to anyone that watches it. And to that point, I'm sure we'll share out the info because people want to see it. But I will have a Senate confirmation hearing and then obviously a Senate confirmation vote. And there is a possibility that they're going to try and do certain things with recess appointments that would grant me through the end of 26. And then the confirmation hearing could be slow rolled if necessary. But, from my perspective, the sooner the better. I just like to be officially in the position and not have that question mark hanging over the office or my head. Look, like I said, the most important thing is I realize that bringing in someone from the outside can always be disruptive. And, I believe that the meeting that I had with the office on Friday, hopefully I extended my desire to not disrupt the work. I know they're doing some great work there, and there may be some other mission critical things that we're going to add to the buckets. But I'll find out more tomorrow.
Yeah. No, we're excited for you. We're excited for the change. But I think that you've positioned this foundation and given us our roots and solidified that foundation of the foundation so well that we're going to continue to do good work. We have a good following. Our supporters are some of the best and salt of the earth kind of people. I love going out and meeting supporters, talking to them about the work we're doing and them sharing their stories about what they're doing in their communities and how they're stepping up and, they're discontinuing the silent part of the silent majority. They're using their voices and they're making a stand. I really appreciate that. And this last 4 years has been a journey for sure. Learned so much and seen so much, and my eyes have been opened to so many of the problems that we face in this state and in this country, but also to some of the most amazing people and their stories and what they've had to live through, and to come out on the other side stronger and still have hope and faith, and still be the good people that they are, in extending the help that they do to the people around them. And so I'm grateful for this time, this opportunity we had to work together, as closely as we did the last 4 years. It's been amazing, and wish you well in this position, because there are a lot of people I know that are cheering you on and are expecting some big things to come from this opportunity, and to start to see things turn around on that national level, and that we're going to be taken care of, and that there is someone going after those criminals, and there is hope in the future. And so I wanted to extend that gratitude for this opportunity to work with you, and that you have left in your wake this foundation that will continue to do good work. And it's because of what you stand for, the integrity that you have, and the quality of work, and the vision that you have, for your family, for your community, and now for, on the national level. You have a vision for what you can do, and be even more effective than you were from this perspective of the foundation, and as the mayor of Pasco. So we're grateful for that, and I wanted to tell you that from the rest of us on the foundation. We're grateful for the 4 years that you have sacrificed to be part of it, and we will do our best to continue on in that legacy, and to grow this foundation, and fight for those people that support us.
Well, I really do appreciate that. And, I wouldn't make the move if I wasn't fully confident in the future of the foundation, that if I didn't believe it was in capable hands, in both the board and the 3 attorneys that I already mentioned, and I don't know. I mean, last night at the Yakima County Lincoln Day dinner, and another attorney introduced himself. I mean, I don't know what the future looks like for growth, but what I can tell you is the people that we have here are solid. They are committed, as I remain committed. I just get to shoot from a different vantage point. That's the only thing I see. I still remember, and I'm going to hold on to this, and I know I've said it on at least one, if not several other podcasts. When we talked about the possibility of me winning the Attorney General's race, one of the questions I posed to our staff was, who's coming? And the absolute answer was no, we are not. And at first I was just like, like, why are you still working here? That's your response. And they said, listen, we love working with you, and we appreciate, your vision and your passion, but we are needed here. And it's that certainty, it's that confidence, it's that level of commitment that tells me it's okay for me to go. And, look, I'm not just like going and be like Joe corporate attorney, right? I mean, it'd be one thing if I was just shelving it to go do something that was either easier or just paid more. I'm very blessed that I have a new challenge ahead of me. You would have asked me, I guess, almost 20 years ago when I entered law school, if this was on my ticket. I really wanted to be Jerry Maguire in real life. Like, that was part of why I went to Florida. They had a certificate in sports law, and the Jags were there, and they had a bunch of minor league sports. And I really thought like I was going to be working with Drew Rosenhaus, for anyone that's dorky enough to know that name. I'm not. And that wasn't the path I was ever meant to walk. It was just the one that sounded attractive to 26-year-old Pete. But we've built this, we've built this as a team, as people that support us. This organization is a credit to you, to them, to our board members, to our attorneys, to our funders, to the legislators that tell me every time I see them how grateful they are for the work that we do, to allow them at least some cover to say, hey, you're not going to pass this crap. And when it gets passed, someone's going to stand up. That's why I can look at it and say the opportunity right now to serve the United States is the right move in my life and the organization's shelf life, because I believe that shelf life doesn't have an expiration date. And God willing, we shut it down because we don't need it. But I'm also, I don't look, if I had that type of hope that we wouldn't be needed, maybe I'd be playing the lotto more.
Right.
and then we'd be well funded. But the reality is, I have full confidence in our board and in our staff that the right decisions will be made, and at the right time. The timing will line up with the need for the people and for the work. And yeah, it's tough to leave. I mean, like 4 years ago in 5 days, my birthday present to myself was filing that paperwork with the Secretary of State. And one, I really didn't know that we'd be here. It was just like crap. I mean, we literally, and this is more like you and I, we literally started at my kitchen table, and then you'll remember shortly thereafter, our friend Mike was willing to cut us a deal on his property. Steve Bauman allowed us to hang out at his place for a while. Then we got our own space. I mean, that felt like a kid moving out to his own apartment, right? And even if the apartment's not perfect, it's like it's God's country because it's your own.
Right. And we decorated with flags on the walls.
Yeah, shirts and flags because we're cool like that. We're still, in our teens. And, we put a 2-year lease on thinking, are we going to make this? We just extend that lease another year. I mean, I didn't know whether this was going to happen or not, and it did. And the 4 years that I've been blessed to be a part of it has really, I've learned, I cannot tell you, I mean, it'd be another 2-hour podcast, and I apologize we're going so long.
It's all right. We'll just cut it up. If they're watching, they want to listen anyway.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't have predicted this. Couldn't have predicted any of this, whether we're talking about the foundation or where I'm going. But man, I've been so blessed to be part of it. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your friendship, for Vince, for Eric, for, Karen and Emily and Austin and Brett and Carolyn, who helped out, and Maddie, and
got our intern Caleb.
Sorry, Caleb. Yeah, Caleb, his family. There have been other people, like the folks that I mentioned, that hooked us up with a space to be. And the people, like you said, the people that we meet throughout the state, and the hope that we give them, and the excitement they have. I mean, to me, it's odd that I walk into a room and people want to talk to me. Just doing the right job, man. My mantra is do the next right thing, and do the right thing now, of course, but always be looking to the next right thing. And I don't know. I've been blessed, and I'm grateful, and I have hope for the support of this organization, that the people will continually to rally behind us. And I mean, to your point, probably the biggest thing I'm going to miss is the events. We've got some potential events in September and October, and if we have other folks that are going to request our presence, reach out through info at Silent Majority Foundation or smfjb.org, info at smfjb.org. If we can make things happen where we can get someone up there or down there or around there, we're happy to send people, because it's all about making sure that the state keeps up the faith. And, you know, you mentioned it, and I've joked about this. I'm ready to soon trademark the Majority Foundation. You know, folks are getting less silent, and I'm grateful for that. So, you know, while I'm going elsewhere, I mean, the organization and its people and its supporters will always be in my prayers, and quite frankly, always be in the forefront of my mind as I make decisions and, you know, do whatever the next right thing is as the next United States attorney for this district. It's going to be a wild ride. I mean, it's already been crazy, just the process of getting there. I'm just blessed to do more good.
Well, we're grateful for it. We're grateful for it. People, men like you that are willing to stand up and to your point, do the next right thing or do the right thing. You know, that's we've been lacking that for a long time, and it's time. I know I've met many good men on this path the last 4 years that are starting to stand up and have stood up and need our support, need us to continue to fight so they can fight their battles as well. And it's been an honor, and you know, I think it's time we can sign off. You know, This will be your last podcast with us, but it's not the last podcast for SMF. We will be fighting. We still our phone lines are still open, and you can email us at info@smfjb.org if you've got a question, a concern, need help with anything. That's what this organization is about, is helping you at your community level, at the state level, wherever it is where you are being held down or trodden, or where people are overreaching their authority or power. You know, they're supposed to be serving us, and that's what we're holding them accountable to, and we will continue to do. And we're grateful that you're going to be serving us at a new position, and hopefully being able to affect that change with much more, you know, power and, you know, and righteous authority.
That's what I'll be doing.
Well, thanks, Pete. Thanks for listening. And you know, it's been a long night. If you made it through the echo earlier in the show, we'll listen back and see what we missed on and rehash it. Maybe put it out in a newsletter so you all can rehash the past wins we had and a little bit of the history of the foundation. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.